How have you grown the most as a person?
There's nobody on the planet more scared and cautious than I am. I've read all the books. I have done all the things. I don't need a class to teach me about real estate investing. Was I wrong? People were going to be like, what a fool. Why did she do that? But that was a big fear for me. When I walk around and show someone this property, they're like, wow, you did such an amazing job. And I'm like, I kind of didn't do anything.
Welcome to the Rehab with Ehab Podcast. I'm your host, Ehab Shukri, and today we are going to give you the tools you need to be able to build wealth through real estate with one of my all-star students, Heather Varnado. Heather is a mom of two amazing girls. She has been crushing it in the real estate game with 2 awesome Airbnbs under her belt, and most importantly has learned some valuable lessons about overcoming fear and being able to succeed despite your fears in real estate. And she's going to share with you today how to be able to do that. Heather, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited. So you really kind of struggled getting into real estate investing in the beginning because you spent a lot of time just trying to keep yourself busy to not really even do a deal. Tell me about that a little bit.
Well, there's nobody on the planet more scared and cautious than I am. And I thought that would do me a favor, that would be good for me because I wouldn't make any mistakes then, right? So when I started out, I sort of created a checklist of all the things that I needed to accomplish before I got started. And I was really excited. I'd been listening to podcasts and reading all the books, and I was ready to jump in, but I thought the responsible grown-up thing to do was to check all these boxes before I got started. So I did. I spent 2 years, a long time, learning, reading, saving, putting myself on a budget, creating a fund, a real estate fund, so that we could buy property. And it's funny because when I was going through this 2-year period, I had read a book called Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. And I was doing that. I was getting up at 5 o'clock every morning and meditating and journaling and exercising. And, I was really going to do this. And so now I can go back and read through that journal. I journaled through those first 2 years. And as I was thinking about this podcast with you, I looked back through that and I got to a point where I had done everything. I had checked all the boxes. I had read everything. I had saved. I had budgeted. We were really in a good position to start this. All my boxes were checked and I was like, now what? Now what do I do?
Yeah.
I was too scared to pull the trigger. I had looked at properties and these were ugly properties, right? So they were scary to me. And so every time I would create another list of reasons why it was too scary or too risky, and I just couldn't jump in.
Yeah, that's incredible. And the whole reason why you wanted to invest in real estate was because I think you were kind of looking at the future and retirement and realizing that, maybe the jobs were not going to do what they needed to do to be able to retire, at 65, like a lot of people want to be able to retire. And I think a lot of people don't really know if they're making enough or saving enough to be able to retire. What was that moment like when you were looking at that?
Well, our first plan was just to stay young forever.
Yeah.
We were never going to get old.
Yeah.
But when we figured out that wasn't working and we were getting old, we were getting closer to retirement, we really started to pay attention, and we had done all the things. Like, we had been responsible and we didn't live a super lavish lifestyle. We were, fairly frugal and maxed out our 401ks, did all the things they tell you to do. But when we really started to look at it, we realized that we were going to work, until we were 65 or 70, and then, have enough money to live, right? To pay our bills and to maybe, watch movies and
survive, maybe.
Yes, right. We weren't going to be able to really live the life that we wanted to live. Yeah. And so, that's really how this whole thing started, is that we really wanted financial freedom. We didn't want to work forever. And when we did finally were able to retire, we wanted to live like we wanted to live. So that's really where it started. And my husband was all in with this. He was like, yes, you figure it out. Go do it.
Yeah.
I'm in full support. And he has been really supportive. And so that's made it a little easier. But that's really where it all started. Until I met you, I didn't even really know where I was going to go with this or what would happen, how I didn't even think about cash flow or any of those things. We were really thinking long-term in retirement.
Yeah. And I think, so many people, they think they're making progress by reading books or listening to podcasts or watching YouTube videos, but it's not really until you start making offers and taking action and buying properties that you really have started investing in real estate and moving the needle forward in your retirement or in your cash flow, right? And so that's such an important lesson that, the prep work that you did, while it's important and it's kind of good to get you in the right mindset, it's not really building your business and growing a real estate business, until you actually start getting in the weeds and buying properties.
There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt. And I remember one of the very first conversations I ever had with you when I met you, we were talking about your course, and I thought to myself, I don't really need this. I've read all the books. I have done all the things. I don't need a class to teach me about real estate investing. And was I wrong? I mean, what I got from your class, it was a great course, and it did explain the ins and outs of dealing with contractors and, how you need to do this or how you need to do that, all the sort of tactical things that you need to learn. But there was so much more to it that I got, and what helped me and took me from just being afraid and having a to-do list and not knowing where to go next. It was the network, the two things. The mindset was number one, that you push past your fear and you say, yeah, look, this is crazy, and this house is ugly and it needs all this work. And it is scary, but you push past that and you go forward and you just do it. Like you said, you do it. And then the second thing is having all the people on your team, having everybody around you that helps you get to that mindset that, hey, no matter what happens, no matter what we come across, no matter what, problems come up during this that you just can't anticipate, you're going to have the right people with you to help you through it, to help you find the answers, to find the solution to whatever it is that you encounter. And that's what I needed.
Yeah.
I was never going to be confident and feel good that I could jump into something until I had that team of people around me. On my first deal, you said to me, I had made an offer and I was so scared. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? And I called you and I said, am I doing the right thing? And your words to me that day were, Heather, there's nothing that will come up through this process that either you, me, or your contractor, Chris, can't help you solve. And
Right.
That was kind of what I needed to hear. And you were absolutely right. Whatever problems came, I would be like, oh my gosh, this is what's happened. And, I would just I learned to just start making calls and talking to people. How have you handled this? Who do you know that can help me with this? Mm-hmm. And you just figure it out. You figure out your solution.
Yeah.
Biggest lesson for me by a mile.
Yeah. You grow so much throughout that process, right? Of having that moment of panic when you have an issue, and then you grow into a person that's like, okay, there's an issue. Now, what's the solution for it? And the fear part you mentioned was really interesting, because I think so many people are afraid of, losing money or doing a bad deal. But, you and I have talked about this. There's also that fear of kind of failing in front of your friends or family, right? And,
Yes.
That can sometimes be more paralyzing than just the financial part.
For sure.
Tell me about that, because you did have that fear, and I did as well.
Yes, I did. I mean, family members and friends who were like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And you feel so excited because you feel like you're really onto something, and you've done your research and you've talked to so many people who have been successful at this. So you feel like, look, this is for real. I'm going to do this. And then people who just they don't understand, they haven't done that research they just don't have that level of understanding, and they're like, wait, so what are you signing up for? And for me, I had created this great business. I was an executive recruiter for a big firm in Houston for many years. I loved it. When I had my girls, I was able to leave that firm and go out on my own and create my own business at home. It gave me so much flexibility. I was able to raise my girls and, be at home with them, but still run a desk and make the same amount of money because I wasn't giving half my money to a firm. I was keeping all of my fees. And it was great. Like, it worked so well for me for 10 years. And, people were like, so why are you leaving that to go do this crazy hard thing? They just didn't understand. And I was so afraid that if it failed, people were going to be like, what a fool. Why did she do that? That was a big fear for me, that I had to overcome. And again, I don't know I don't know what people's perception is now, but, if I were ever to sit down with anyone, if they ever asked me and I showed them, what we have in equity and, what kind of cash flow we're doing and these amazing properties, like this is what it's going to look like in 5 years and in 10 years. I think it would blow people's minds. They wouldn't be able to believe that we've done so much in such a short time.
Yeah, we're in one of your Airbnbs right now, and it's just an incredible property. You worked with your friend who's an interior designer to create this super cool. What would the style be here? Like, is it Art Deco or what's the style here?
No, it's like a vintage modern.
Modern.
This house was built 100 years ago, and she wanted to keep the sort of vintage vibe of this really old house, but make it modern and cool. So I think she did a really good job.
Yeah, she did an incredible job. And you did a great job of leveraging your resources, right? It's not always about trying to hire strangers or contractors. It's about like using your network, right? Your friends, and sharing your vision with people. And, your friends and family genuinely want to see you succeed, so they were kind of on board helping you with this as well. I know your husband has been very supportive. I talked to him many times.
Yeah, no, we're super proud of this. And man, I almost feel guilty when I walk around and show someone this property because they're like, wow, you did such an amazing job. And I'm like, I kind of didn't do anything, you're right. It's about your network and the people that you bring into your team. I had a great contractor, a great team of people, working and building this property just exactly the way we wanted, a great designer, a great architect. The architect laid this out as an Airbnb so that every space was maximized and used for somebody staying in a short-term property. Every bedroom has its own bathroom. It has a huge open space for for people to gather. So every step of the way, I had someone do something that I could never do, but I just had this great team of people who all came together and made this happen. It is amazing, and it's the thing I'm most proud of so far.
Yeah. And so, I know people listening are like, they're crippled with that fear that you had, and you've figured it out, right? Like you figured out how to overcome it. You recognize that you had spent 2 years checking boxes but not really taking action. How were you finally able to overcome the fear that you had? Like what really made the difference for you?
Hands down, it was my network around me. I met you in the summer of 2020. I finished your course by sometime by the holidays. And by January, I sat down and I just wrote out some really audacious goals. This is what I'm going to do this year. I'm not messing around anymore. I'm going to do this. But having the people around me, your network, you shared all of the people that you had used, your architect, your designers, your contractors. Having all of those people there gave me the confidence to say, okay, you can go do this and you'll have the right people to help you through it. Again, I didn't know how to do any of those things on my own, so I needed a network of people. And that was the difference. That was going out and making offers on properties, knowing I had all the tools and all the people around me versus going out and making offers and saying, I have no idea what I'm going to do with this. And I didn't even understand that at the time.
Yeah.
But after meeting you and having that network, I had been working on mindset for a long time. I'd been reading all the books like The Miracle Morning and all of that stuff, and really trying to get my head in the right space and believing in myself and having confidence and faith and all of those things. And you have to have that. I believe that 100%. But it's you can't have that alone. You have to have a good team of people. And that's what I was missing until I met you. And then I had all of those people. And I have the best network now. I mean, everything from insurance agents to, architects, engineers, design, the whole, anytime I need anything, I just send a message, hey, who are you guys using for this? And those people are right there for me. So I can't imagine doing any of this without that.
Yeah.
And that's really what sort of got me from where I was to where I am now.
Yeah.
That was the deal.
That's incredible. Yeah. Having the team is so important. And that's helped you to get these 2 awesome Airbnbs that you have, right? So you've got one Airbnb that is kind of a house with 4 apartments in the back. So I guess kind of a 5-unit property. And then you got the one that we're in right now, which is kind of a duplex, two cool buildings on here. What do these properties do, or what do you expect them to do? I know this one's kind of brand new, so it's just new on Airbnb. So you're still kind of predicting what it's going to do. Like how good are these properties going to be able to do for you to let people understand that maybe all that overcoming the fear and all that hard work is really worth it?
Yeah. Our first property, it's an amazing property. Like you said, it's a 5-plex. It's a house with 4 apartments. We've sort of shifted more with that one to midterm rentals. We have a lot of travel nurses that we rent to. That property is amazing. It does between $10,000 and $12,000 a month in revenue. Mm-hmm. It's just been, such a good property for us. This one, we've just gotten it listed and up and running, so we haven't really seen the full potential yet, what we can do here. But in my network, I have people all around this area who have Airbnbs doing really well. I won't set my expectations quite that high. They're really blowing it out. But I expect this property to do $14,000 or $15,000 in revenue a month once it gets.
That's incredible. So between 2 properties, that is 15 plus that's $27,000 roughly, $25,000 to $27,000. And that's just with 2 properties, right? And that was over like a 2.5-3 year period, right? And so, I think it's important that people understand how much potential is there, right? Because you don't have to spend 5, 6, 7 years buying 20 or 30 properties, right? You can really invest smartly with just 1 or 2 properties, and that's all it takes to really start impacting your wealth, right? And I know you're still planning on growing, you're still looking to add to your portfolio, but just a couple of good properties can really start adding some extra cash to your monthly income, and certainly will add a lot of wealth and through the equity that they have, especially since you buy them and you renovate them and then you kind of refinance them. So you're doing the whole Airbnb strategy, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're a mom, you've got 2 great girls, you've got a husband that you have to take care of as well, and you're really kind of in the throes of this real estate business. Like, what does your day look like as a kind of a full-time real estate investor with a family?
Well, it's gotten a little bit lighter just recently because we finished this project. I mean, this was a beast to get it furnished and finished, construction complete, and everything to what it looks like now. But so now, I mean, my day is more like I get my girls off to school, and I keep all the accounting for my properties. I make sure that the listings are updated, that I keep up with the listings and checking the occupancy and so forth. And I manage the properties myself, so everything from, changing a lock on a door or taking out the trash or blowing leaves, painting, whatever it is. I mean, I do all of that myself, and I've learned a whole lot. I mean, I'm kind of a handyman at my own house now because of all that I've learned. But it's fun. I mean, and I look forward to the day that we turn this all over to a property manager and retire from it. But for now, I'm really enjoying that part of it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's 100% transparency of what it's like when you're getting started, right? Like you are wearing multiple hats. You're the accountant, you're the marketer, you're the operator of your Airbnb, you're sometimes the handyman, right? But that's kind of an important step in the journey because you need to understand all of that so that when you do outsource it to people, you know how to manage them, right? If you've never managed your property, you don't understand how to properly price it, you don't understand how to interact with guests and really create that great experience for them, you won't know how to manage people to make sure that they're doing all those things correctly as well, right? So you go through the growing pains and eventually you outsource it or you hire people, kind of like what I've done with my business and others are doing as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you can't anticipate all the problems. I mean, you can do the best job that you possibly could do, and there's still going to be, the city shut off the water for a plumbing issue, or there was a neighbor that was loud, or, I mean, there are going to be issues that you have with your guests, and I do the very best job I can as the host or the manager of the property to be there for my tenants to show up. And so they give me grace, when those problems happen that you can't anticipate or that you don't know are coming. I've found that, the more hands-on you are and the more you care, the more you show up and care about what's happening with your properties, the more people will give you grace about things that are kind of out of your control.
Yeah. And then I know you've definitely had some challenges, which we all have. Like everybody has challenges in the real estate business. How have you grown the most in this whole journey as a person?
I have definitely overcome fear that I never thought that I would overcome. And I see it. I think when we change as humans, it's so gradual that you don't sometimes notice it. Maybe other people notice it, but you don't notice it. My change has been so tremendous that I notice it. I notice when things pop up and something happens. So I get a call, a plumbing issue, or there's a, this or that. It used to just feel like so heavy and so big. And now, it's like, okay, what do we need to do to fix this? I see that in myself, that growth, that, not being so afraid of everything, and having the confidence to say, I know I can work this out. I know I can figure this out. Even my husband will tell me, that he can see, like, I'm just so impressed with all that you've done. It's just so cool to watch the transformation. He's had people tell him, like, gosh, I wish my wife would do that, know?
Yeah.
So that's cool. I mean, I think it's been fun for me to show myself, what I can do, to show my girls what they can do, what they're capable of. The sky's the limit. Whatever you want to do, just go do it, know. And then, to have my husband feel that way too, about all that I've accomplished. It's just been, it's been neat. It's been fun.
Yeah, that's super cool. And I think you're right. People kind of dramatize how difficult problems can be in the real estate industry, or owning properties. Like I hear people all the time say, do you really want to deal with, clogged toilets or tenants? But, at the end of the day, it's not like you're going there with a plunger and unclogging the toilet, right? You're just going to pick up the phone and call a plumber. And yeah, there's going to be an expense associated with it, but there are people out there that can solve the problem for you. And for the most part, your part is going to be just making a phone call, right? And maybe supervising a little bit of the work. But you're not actually out there having to do a lot of the heavy lifting, I think. And that's the part where, when people realize that, there are experts and professionals out there that you can use and you're really just orchestrating it all, then it's all very solvable.
Yeah, I usually only get a clogged plumbing, a plumbing issue on a Friday night at 5 or Sunday, afternoon. I took it to a new level and had a plumbing issue in the middle of the freeze here just a few weeks ago. And so all the plumbers were offline and nobody was taking any calls, and I had a clogged, sewer line. That kind of stuff just would have totally freaked me out before. And now it's just like, okay, you have to call a few more people than you normally have to call. But eventually we found someone, he came, cleared the line. It was no big deal. Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have always been that way, just kind of take everything as it comes, just real easygoing about. And I always used to think, how does he just, none of this stuff bothers him. And I'm getting there, certainly not Ehab level yet, but I'm getting there, and I see it, I sense it, I feel it. And I think it's just going to make me a different person in all aspects of my life, not just real estate investing.
Well, you're going to create a new level, and we're going to call it the Heather level. That will be surpassing the Ehab level.
Yeah.
What's been your biggest lesson learned? I mean, I know coming into real estate, you expect problems, and there's definitely going to be some surprises. But what's been kind of the biggest surprise that's kind of taken you aback, and how were you able to overcome it?
Well, I think it's really about not backing off and saying, well, I don't know how to handle that, or I don't know anything about that. I better let somebody else who really understands. I just handed it off kind of and just waited and said, oh, I hope they work it out for me. We did have some major issues coming into this property. I bought it thinking that I could turn it into a threeplex, a triplex, and the city said, sorry, you can't do that. You can only have 2 units on this property. That was a total surprise to me. I had no idea. And so as we were going through this process with permitting and with the city, I just stood back and I let somebody else kind of, take me from where we needed to go, instead of questioning, instead of saying, hey, well, why is this and why is that and why can't we do it this way, and I don't think this is right, and let me call another person and let me just see if there's another way to do this. I just left it, I left it in the hands of someone who, I don't want to say they didn't care. Of course they cared, but there was no sense of urgency for them, and they just have one perspective. And I didn't do enough getting involved and asking another person and keep, I should have kept going. I should have kept door knocking or kept phone calling until I got all the answers that I knew were right. And I didn't do enough of that. After going through that, I learned that so much. I mean, that was a real lesson for me. And now, even if I don't know, especially if I don't know, I'm going to go find out. I'm just going to keep calling people. Yeah. Hey, have you ever encountered this? And what did you do? And do you know anyone who would be able to talk, would be able to speak to this? And you just keep working through that network until you find the answers. I wish I would have done more than that. I probably would have saved a lot of time.
Yeah, I've talked to so many successful entrepreneurs and real estate investors, and the one common theme for sure in all those conversations is that the successful people will go figure it out, right? Because there's no business that doesn't have problems. So, and everything you do is going to have problems, but those problems for some people are just going to derail their career or, turn them off from moving forward. And they'll just say, well, this doesn't work, or I can't figure it out, or it's too hard. But at the end of the day, the people that are willing to pick up the phone or make the phone calls or make as many phone calls as it takes to find the right person to get the answer, those are the ones that are going to solve the problem and be able to continue moving their business forward, right? Otherwise, it's just going to kind of stall out and you're going to be stuck.
No doubt. I was so intimidated. I was intimidated by the city or by the engineering company. I thought that they knew so much more than me, that I almost didn't have the right to question what they were doing or what they were saying. And that was not true. I mean, that was a huge lesson for me. Just ask all the questions until you do understand clearly and for sure that you're in the right place and you're going in the right direction. Just don't ever stop asking those questions. So that was huge for me.
Yeah. So what do you do to stay motivated now? Like, any good books you've read or podcasts you listen to? What keeps you motivated now?
You. I call you. And
yeah.
No, I love to read. I listen to a lot of books. I listen to 40 or 50 books a year.
Yeah.
And some of them on repeat, because they just get you excited and motivated to keep going, to do new things, try new things. I do listen to a lot of podcasts. I mean, I was a huge Bigger Pockets fan. That was how I started this whole journey. And now they have so many podcasts, so many, but there's a lot of really good real estate, short-term rental podcasts out there. So I listen to that stuff.
What are the books that are on repeat that you like?
What's the book that you and I both love and have read? Why can't I think of the name?
Rich Dad Poor Dad? Secrets of the Millionaire Mind?
Secrets of the Millionaire Mind is one of my all-time favorites. I love that book. Of course, Rich Dad Poor Dad. There's a book called You're a Badass. It's kind of an interesting name. That I loved, that I used to listen to on repeat. I haven't listened to that one in a while. I might have to bump that up. But I love that one too. But that stuff, it's almost like having someone in your ear kind of pumping you up and telling you, like, you can do this,
Yeah.
You just have to get your head in the right place, right? And it is. It's all about what you think. It's all about what you feel and believe. Was it... I don't remember who said, if you can conceive it and believe it, you can achieve it. I believe that's true.
Yeah.
If you can think it up and you can convince yourself that it's going to happen, then it will, you know. Eventually, you just don't give up, right? You just keep going until you figure it out. No one took longer to get on this real estate thing than I did, 2 years of planning and thinking about it, and then 3 years of actually doing it. And but you can do it. Just don't give up. Just keep going. Don't quit.
Yeah. Persistence beats resistance for sure. And I think depending on where people are in their journey and where they are in life can really affect how quickly or slowly they get involved. Like, I did my first real estate deal at 27, and fortunately I was still young enough and dumb enough to where I think I spent a month researching this and then I went and bought a property, right? So I didn't have enough wisdom to maybe slow down and take a little bit more time. But certainly now, as I've gotten older, I probably would pause a lot more, and others that are, older probably are pausing a lot more. But I think the key is not to let the analysis paralysis keep you from moving forward, right? It's good to be thoughtful, but at some point you just got to take the action and start moving forward as well.
No doubt.
Yeah.
That experience is so important. You just have to get in and do it. And if you have the right people around you, you're safe.
Yeah. Absolutely. So what's the Heather today advice that you give from the Heather from 3 years ago? Like, what would you tell that Heather?
Don't be scared. Do find a good team. You have to have a good team. And you have to have your head, your mindset right. But once you have those things, just go. And maybe don't even wait for your mindset. Maybe your mindset comes later, but have the right people so that you can protect yourself from not knowing what to do. But just go and do it. I see a lot of newer investors coming up and wanting to do a deal and get in, and it's scary, and I get it. Again, no one was more scared than me. But if you have the right people around you, you're gonna be fine. And it's almost like once you get that momentum and you start moving in that direction, it unfolds for you. The things just start to happen, and where you never thought you could. I never thought I could do this, or I never thought I could do that, and then all of a sudden you're doing it because you're making that happen. That momentum, you just get that momentum, and it just works out.
Thank you for watching the Rehab with Ehab podcast, and make sure you like and subscribe. There were some amazing golden nuggets that Heather shared with you today about overcoming fear and getting in the right mindset to be a successful real estate investor. So go out, read some of those books, and take action. Don't be afraid to get started, and of course, follow your passion, follow your dreams, and make that life that you have always wanted.